What's up, everyone? This is Carolyn Davis. I am the director of the Vote Your Heart initiative for Faith 2020. I am excited to be going live with you today to talk with Nabila Monsoor, the executive director of Emgage, Texas. She and I had a chance to meet last weekend in an event that involved multiple faith leaders working in Texas to turn out the vote to turn Texas blue, and we think we might have a chance this year. So I know a lot of you are out there in the state working hard, or in your home states working hard, and it's a great opportunity to really elevate the way multiple people from multiple faiths, multiple women from multiple faiths are coming together to make change. So I am going to bring in Nabila in just a minute, and then we'll get started. And as we wait for more folks to join, you might see that going on behind me is the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearings. You're probably hearing a lot about these hearings, what it means for your family, your community. And one thing we want to make sure that we are thinking about in this moment is the fact that this is a process that has been rammed through by the Senate in a hope to install a conservative justice that will do a few things. One, dismantle the ACA, a healthcare insurance program that has extended healthcare to tens of millions of Americans, including 15 million people with low incomes who stand to lose coverage in the middle of a pandemic if the ACA falls. This case will be heard 7 days after the election. We also know, for instance, that she is sympathetic to arguments that could deny marriage equality for LGBT people, could deny foster parents, qualified foster parents who are LGBT, the right to adopt. There are a lot of issues at stake, but primarily we know that people are already casting their ballots. This is not the time to confirm a new justice. So we are watching this closely. We are hopeful that we have a chance to raise awareness around these issues. And I hope that if you have questions, you will drop me a line. I'm happy to talk with you more about this. So without further ado, we're going to bring in Nabila and chat a little bit about her work. So I'm bringing her in now. Hey, Nabila. We are just waiting on her to come in. Hi, Nabila. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I am looking longingly at the sunshine outside and hoping that at some point soon today I will leave the house. I hope maybe you've had a chance to do that down in Texas. I've heard it's fall weather there.
It is beautiful weather. I think October is the best time to be here. Don't visit us in the summer. But I think just to keep my sanity, I've been doing morning walks just to kind of try to make sense of everything that's happening on in our world. And you just mentioned the hearings that are happening in the background.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time right now.
It's a crazy time and so much at stake. So, and you're coming to us from Fort Bend County, Texas. I believe you live near my parents. Can you tell us exactly where you're located in the state? Not your address, but what communities are you representing?
Yeah, so I'm here in Sugar Land, Texas. It is in Fort Bend County, which we like to call the most diverse community in all of America. And Sugar Land is certainly the city that's in the county, which is super, super diverse. It's a wonderful place to live. I almost feel like if we can get it right here, we can get it right everywhere in the country. Mm-hmm. And we are certainly hoping that with this election, we do get it right.
Absolutely. And you work specifically with an organization called Emgage, Texas. Can you say a little bit about what y'all do? What does it mean to organize in Texas on behalf of the Muslim community? What is exciting about this moment?
Yeah, it is an exciting moment. It's a nervous, anxious-filled, exciting moment. We're a group that is primarily interested in making sure that the American Muslim community knows about the issues, is involved, and is taking part in the elections according to their strength. Right? That we have a large number of people in certain pockets of the nation. We are only 1% of the population. But if you look at communities like Fort Bend County, we make up quite a big share, and we want to make sure that we're voting our strength. We're a nonprofit, so we do, some of that stuff that our other nonprofit friends do: voter registration, trying to make people aware about how important it is to vote. But we also do lobbying work. We have someone in Austin that is working really hard to make sure that issues like criminal justice reform, those pesky little bills that come every session in Texas that have to do with anti-Sharia bills get squashed very quickly. And then, of course, we have a PAC where we endorse candidates that align with us on the issues that are important to us as a community.
Wonderful. And you have specifically been working to help Muslims think about ways to get engaged. So text banking. What other opportunities are out there for the folks that are in your community looking to get organized?
Yeah, I mean, we are phone banking every day. It's nonstop. And we're texting. We are also really taking hold of kind of the ethnic media, and I think that gets ignored oftentimes. So we have a very thriving media center here in Houston. We work with our AAPI, our Asian American partners. We have radio stations that are 24 hours in Hindi, Urdu, Chinese, Vietnamese. And that's a community that is often overlooked. But if you look at our community members, especially the older folks that came here, those are the places they go to get their facts. And so we want to make sure that the facts they're getting are validated, are fact checked. We have a very active community that is on WeChat, on WhatsApp. So we want to make sure that info that is coming through there is also a good info. So we're often really the trusted messenger for some of the info that when it comes to voting. So we're doing a radio show every day. We are going to be at a ethnic South Asian radio station on election day, just taking calls like from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then we have ads in newspapers. There are even TV stations here. So those are some of the things that I feel like those are gaps that maybe other organizations perhaps don't have as easy access to as some of ours do. And we just want to make sure we're utilizing every single access to information possible.
Awesome. And what kind of false information or misinformation do you feel like you're combating in this moment?
You know, I mean, it's the same like everywhere, right? It's a lot of conspiracy theories. We had one going around yesterday in Fort Bend that if someone wrote something on your ticket when they gave it to you, when the election clerk gave you the coded piece of paper, and if someone wrote on it, that means that your vote would be invalidated once you fed it into the machine. So things like that, let's nip it in the bud. The internet was down. We had some real technical difficulties in Fort Bend County. So we made sure that that everyone knew about that. They weren't going to these voting locations. We let them know when the machines were up and running. We just want to make sure that folks have the right information. We also are in touch with a group of artists. This is really interesting. So we're, just like everyone else, we're all anxious about this election, and we're afraid that polling locations where there tends to be more ethnic or communities of color that go to vote, they might be open to, I don't know, some kind of white supremacist or what have you, trying to show up there just to cause trouble. So we have this wonderful group of artists that we have on standby. And if anything should happen where there is some kind of disturbance at a polling location, they will show up and just start dancing and just start doing like an Indian Bollywood dance. Kind of diffuse the situation. I thought it was a wonderful idea. They came to us, they said, this is what we want to do. And I just thought it was so awesome. So we have things like that I just, I'm so excited that everyone is so into this election. Yesterday, I mentioned we had some problems at the polls. There was a lady I talked to yesterday. She showed up at the polls at 6:45 a.m. and didn't come out until about 11:30. And she said that she was not going to leave until she voted. And she did. And she said no one left in her line either. There were 65 people in line.
Wow.
And so that shows you the commitment that folks have this election season. We know that the numbers are just out of the roof in terms of the people that voted on the first day of early voting. I think this is positive. This is a good thing. And we're just going to be on the lookout to make sure that everything is running as smoothly as possible.
That's so exciting. And actually, we're talking about voter suppression throughout the day today on our Instagram
Mhm.
Live channel. And we're talking with another artist out of Dallas later this afternoon.
So
She's
awesome.
going to be, yeah, it's great. They're just, the creativity around this moment
Yes.
is incredible. She's been doing series that of cute little illustrations of chairs with Texas flags on them to bring attention to the fact that these long lines, right, require things like bringing a chair to be prepared to vote, no matter what people try to do, kind of throw obstacles in your way.
Yeah, amazing. And the statistics show that those long lines tend to be intentional, right? Like if you are a person of color, especially if you are African American, then it is more likely that you'll have a long line as opposed to if you are someone from a high income background, if you're white or what have you. So we know that that's going to happen. Our Harris County has been really great this year about trying to open up access to the voting polls to as many people as possible. And so we're seeing like 10 drive-through locations over there. They have a 24-hour voting location
Oh,
that
wow.
actually the governor is suing to get rid of the drive-through locations, and I think the 24-hour one as well. But exciting things are happening. And I always say, um, elections matter. Who you vote for matters. I wanted to also share something we're actually very proud of. We have 8 mosques that are voting locations this
Oh,
year,
that's great.
which is huge. I can't tell you how many people are posting on social media saying that I've never been this proud. I got to vote in my local mosque. That was unheard of. I remember in 2014 arguing in front of the county commissioner's court, asking him to make mosques polling locations. And we heard excuse after excuse as to why it wasn't possible. And then you get new folks in that we elected in 2018, and all of a sudden, everything that seems so impossible just happened as quickly as that. So I'll say elections matter. Um, people go to their mosques every day. We pray 5 times a day. And the most religious will visit the mosque and actually like to pray in the mosque. Mm-hmm. And for them to actually go there and drop a ballot off at a presidential election, I can't tell you the pride that we're seeing in folks doing that.
You mentioned when we spoke on Saturday that this election in many ways feels like an existential moment for the American Muslim community. Can you speak to what's at stake? For instance, I don't think a lot of folks are aware that certain bans are still in place, restricting immigration, that are still targeted at Muslims and have not been found fully invalidated. Can you say a little bit about this existential moment, and why should folks of other faiths, why should folks from other communities be taking this really seriously and looking for ways to be allies?
Yeah, I mean, it really is a existential crisis in the sense that Trump started his campaign by saying that he wanted to put in place a Muslim ban. And for us that were living here, it just hit us in our core that this place that, or at least for me, maybe I don't speak for others, but in a place where we thought was always home, it just felt like, is this our home? Will our children be here? Our parents moved here because they were looking for a better life. Mm-hmm. But if this is no longer a place that can provide that, then I'm not sure if my children will be here. I know a lot of people are thinking about exit strategies, what to do in case something happens. God forbid there is some kind of incident in which Muslims are implicated. What does that mean for us that are on the ground? Citizen or not, we know that the Japanese internment camp decision was overruled by the Supreme Court, not when it was overruled only just a few years ago. So these things are not impossible to imagine. We're living in very difficult times. The Muslim ban is still in place. They just did it really badly, and it had to go through a couple of reiterations through the courts before they got it right. And by putting a country or two that is not Muslim does not make it not a Muslim ban. It still is. And so we're going to work really hard to try to overrule those things, and work with partners and allies that are with us. we worry about our kids.
Yeah.
You know, I'm originally Canadian. I moved here 20 years ago. I'm very proud to be here. It provided me a life, a family, a beautiful home, a community that I'm really proud to be a part of. But I also made sure that my children were Canadian citizens under Trump, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And that makes me sad. Um, but then seeing folks work together in the way that we have also makes me understand the only way out of this is for us to collaborate and work together. Those in the faith community, those in the African American community, Asian American community, it is only with us working together against all of these prejudices, laws, targeted, legislation. I was just got off, we're sending emails today. The census got cut short to October 15th. It was supposed to be to October 31st. They tried to end it at September 30th. Finally went in front of the Supreme Court. When you talk about why that hearing is important, um, they shortchanged vulnerable communities by ending the census early in a pandemic. I know we were doing the work on the ground. We were the ones up there who were talking to the refugees who are living in apartment complexes off of Hillcroft in Houston. These people are working 2 jobs, or they're looking for work desperately, trying to figure out how to put food on their table. And we were trying to convince them to answer questions by a government against which they have a lot of fear from. It's not easy. And then you put a pandemic on top of it. The census was not first on their mind. And so us organizers needed that extra time. And it was taken away from us, and that timeline was shortened. And what that means is that there are going to be entire communities that are going to be left out of the census. And that means funding for the next 10 years. So one of the things I'm hoping is that we get some change, and then maybe, I don't know if this is possible, but maybe we can, I don't know, do another census or something, because this is really problematic when you are not counting everyone in something that is going to decide the fate of a lot of citizens, whether it be political reapportionment, whether it be funding for schools, funding for the virus, funding for whatever. So we're very concerned about that.
How can folks who are just now learning about this issue help advocate for change? You know, we know that there have been situations in the past where the census has failed to count certain vulnerable populations. And so sometimes other organizations, foundations, churches go in and they try to help fill the gaps to make sure they can advocate in their communities for the resources that they need. What can folks do in this moment that feels hopeless sometimes?
Yeah, so we've been having a lot of discussions exactly what we can do. So call your, your congressional representative, tell them that you think that this should be extended, the timeline, that if the results don't come in on December 31st, which is what they're traditionally have been, the census results have been handed to the president on December 31st, that's okay. This is unusual times. We have October 15th till tomorrow, basically midnight tomorrow. Amplify the message on your social media channels that complete the census if you haven't. That's what we're doing for our last 24 hours that we have. There are a lot of Asian American organizations that are working hard to make sure that we are counted. Our counts, they've been lower than what we were hoping, but it was also extraordinary circumstances. So yeah, reach out to me. My email is nmansoor@emgageusa.org, and reach out to your congressional representatives. Tell them that this needs to be extended, and it can be if Congress gets together and decides to do that.
Let's hope so. So I hope everyone out there is making an appointment to do your census if you haven't, to share this information with people in your community and let them know. And take a minute, call your rep, let them know that you want to see that census extended, that it's critical that we have a government where all of us count. I see we have a couple people joining us. Does anyone have a question? You can throw that in the comments. And while we wait for questions, I'll say I am excited and hopeful when I meet leaders like you, Nabila. I think we have such a bright future ahead of us in my home state of Texas, in this country. And I look ahead, right, to this new slate of leaders we're going to have, I know, after November 3rd. What kind of promises do we hope that they keep? What do we want to see? What's next?
Yeah, well, I'm excited with you. I'm right there with you. You know, what is it that we want to see? We want to see a government that represents everyone. We want to see a government that ends the Muslim ban, which is what Biden has promised on day one. We want to see a government that is not just for red states or not just for blue states, but for every state. And we want to see some common sense you know, policies coming forth from our leaders having to do with COVID-19. I mean, it's just tragic what's been happening. We don't have good leadership to model. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to coherent sentences coming from our leadership. And I'm looking forward to the excitement on the ground. We have a lot of young people that have been involved in a way that I've seen, because a lot of those folks were, you know, very enamored by some of the politics by folks like Bernie or what have you back in early January, February. Mm-hmm. But it has carried through because I think everyone understands that this moment is important. And so I love working with young people. I love seeing the energy that they bring and the ideas that they bring and the creativity. And so that has been really very exciting to me and very inspiring. And I can't wait to see how they take that and move it to the next level. And so that's what I'm excited about.
Me too. Well, I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Please stay in touch with us. Send us video of the Bollywood dance crew doing their thing. I hope they dance anyway, because I think that would bring a lot of joy to people in long lines, and we'd love to see pictures and video. And I hope for those out there who are watching, we're going to go on live again at 4:15 Central Time today. We're going to talk with a woman named Veronica, who's in Dallas, working on an art piece that draws attention to voter suppression. And we're going to also hear from Sarita Robinson, who is the Black constituency organizer for the Texas Democratic Party. So they'll be doing that Instagram live through their Instagram channels. So make sure that you check our feed for information about how to log on, and we'll have that video as well posted on our channels once that's done. So, and because you mentioned AAPI organizing, we're going to talk with Evelyn Nam on Friday night, who's doing AAPI, which stands for Asian American Pacific Islander, organizing in Texas as well. So excited to hear from her on Friday night. Nabila, thank you so much for making the time. I'm so glad to be connected with you, and do keep us posted and let us know how we can support and amplify what y'all are up to.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.